Guys, welcome to my channel and welcome to today's video where I'm going to be doing the If I Could Only Keep 10 Eyeshadow Palette tag. This tag was created by Annette's Makeup Corner and I have seen a bunch of different people doing it and I thought it would be really fun. So if you're interested in seeing which 10 palettes I picked, just go ahead and keep watching. So I actually thought about doing this tag right when I had just started my channel, but I didn't think my collection was diverse enough to even have a really good 10 palettes. I thought it would probably just end up being mostly Colourpop. So now that I've been doing this for a few months and I have tried some new brands and some new formulas, I think I've got a pretty solid 10. Even though I keep looking and I'm like, do I really need those two? Those are kind of similar, but these are my 10. I'm not gonna change them. So these are not like my top 10 favorite palettes. They're more of, if I only had 10, which 10 would give me everything I need. I mean, some of them are without a doubt some of my favorite palettes, but not all of them. They're more strategically chosen so that I would have all the kinds of shades I tend to use the most. So, jumping right in with the very first palette that I knew without a shadow of a doubt had to be in this 10, my Adept Cosmetics Plain Jane palette. This might just be my all-time favorite palette. And I haven't even had this for that long. Listen, if you like sparkly, shimmery, shifty, amazing, special shades, let me introduce you to your next favorite eyeshadow palette. Mind-blowing. I love these. I don't even want to swatch it. I was going to show you a couple, but like, I don't even want to waste it. That's how amazing these shadows are. Like, this shade right here is like the embodiment of my soul into an eyeshadow color. Like, I can't even express just how incredible these shadows are. So these are very light swatches because I don't want to waste this palette. That's how much I like cherish this thing. But just look how shiny and shifty these are. I have a really good swatches of these on my Instagram, but listen, like, hands down, my go-to for a sparkly, special, shifty, amazing shade. I want every single shimmer shade that Adept Cosmetics has ever made. I'm sure their mattes are beautiful, but hi. If you're new here, I'm a shimmer girl, so definitely the first one I knew I had to pick. So next is probably the first one I would have picked before I tried the Adept Cosmetics palette. So this is the Warrior palette by Juvia's Place. This is my go-to coppery, warm, neutral palette. Before I did YouTube, probably 90% of the time I reached for this palette. On an everyday basis, there's a good chance I'm going for like a coppery gold, warm neutral kind of look. But the shimmers in this palette, listen, if you have never tried a Juvia's Place shimmer shade, what kind of rock are you living under? Like, look at that. Look at those shadows right there. Just look. Just look. Look how blinding and like liquid metal those shades are. And there are a couple of mattes in here. I do have a pretty solid transition shade and then a nice deepening up shade. This one right here is like that bone colored matte that I really wish wasn't put in palettes, but aside from this one, I've got all my warm coppery goodness right here. Next palette I knew I needed to pick is the Kaleidos x Angelica Nevis palette. This palette, first of all, packaging on another level. This thing is beautiful. That's not why we're here. So I don't tend to wear a lot of cool tone shades or blues or greens. I mean, I like bright green, but if I ever needed a really deep, rich, matte color here, I've got a deep blue, a deep teal, a purple, a red. I've got my deep jewel tone mattes in this palette. So if I only had 10 palettes, I know that whenever I need this kind of shade, I've got a nice rich option in purple, blue, teal, red, all right here. Plus, I have got some more of these incredible, sparkly, shifty topper shades that I love. So I can get a nice peachy, reddish look out of this. I can get a purple look, a blue look, a bright green look, a subtle look, a bold look. This palette is so versatile, it doesn't even make sense. So I've got so many options within just this palette, and I'm gonna say that this is probably my only real like cool tone palette that I chose. Like when it comes to blues and cooler tone colors, this was my choice. So let me just show you. Again, I'm doing very light swatches because this palette is discontinued. I got it right at launch. I waited up till like 3 o'clock in the morning just to get this palette. So these are a few of the shimmers, and they are these more like topper shades. They're not so much opaque shimmers, but they are just incredible. I don't want to waste this one either because I know I can never get my hands on another one. So definitely had to have this one for my cool tones and my deep, rich jewel tone mattes. So next up, in no particular order, I have chosen the Give Me Glow Cosmetics Pastel Dreams palette. So I've got my deep, rich jewel tones, my deepening up shades, and this is all my pastel needs. Any pastel shade I could ever want, I have right here. I've got a matte and a shimmer version of pretty much every color in the pastel rainbow. I don't really have too many pastel colors in my other palettes that I chose, so I knew right away that if I ever wanted a light pastel look, this is my all-in-one. I've got everything I need right here. And these shimmers, much like the Juvia's Place shimmers, are out of this world. Give Me Glow has some of my absolute favorite shimmer eyeshadow formulas. So you can see them right there. They are insanely metallic, just shiny, shifty. That purple at the top has a really beautiful gold duochrome to it. And you can definitely see the difference between the opaque shimmers and the Kaleidos like topper shades, but these would probably work really beautifully together if I topped these with one of these to make it a little more shifty and sparkly. I think that is the beauty with these topper shades. You can really transform whatever shadow you put them on top of. So I chose this one to fulfill all of my pastel eyeshadow needs. So next up, I am going to go through the 3 that I chose from Colourpop. I know that's a lot from one brand, but that's the brand that I hands down own the most eyeshadow from. So it just makes sense that I would want to keep 3 of them. I could have honestly probably chosen a few more, but I'm going to start with the Child palette. This palette surprised me. So this is what it looks like. I love this thing. I don't know a damn thing about Star Wars, but that's besides the point. I have been loving like an army toned olive green eyeshadow look. I don't know where it came from, but I think it looks so beautiful with brown eyes. Now, don't get me wrong, you could wear whatever color eyeshadow with whatever eye color, who cares? But I think brown eyes just are complemented so nicely by this tone of green. So I love this thing. I reach for it way more than I thought I would. The shimmers in here are beautiful. I'm sorry if I'm just swatching shimmers. That's my weakness. But like that gold Super Shock shadow and that one in the middle there is like a really cool duochrome. It's like a gold with a really warm copper flip. So if I could only have 10 palettes and I am just in the mood for that army olive green grungy toned look, this is always the one I'm gonna reach for. So I knew I needed my favorite army grungy green palette. So next up from Colourpop, also one of my top favorite palettes. If I'm not reaching for the Warrior palette from Juvia's Place for like a neutral gold warm look, I am reaching for the Colourpop Good as Gold palette. I don't hear anyone talk about this palette. This was a holiday release. I don't know why no one talks about this. This palette is so good. Like, you can tell I have used and abused this shade right here. So this is one of those more crumbly, really super flaky, shimmery shades. I love it. I put it on with my finger so I don't find it to be hard to work with at all. There is a glitter in here. I actually use it from time to time. I will tap this gold glitter over my lid if I'm looking for something really sparkly and fun. But overall, just a really good gold neutral palette. I love gold eyeshadow, so I knew I needed a more predominantly gold palette. And this one also has a black eyeshadow. So if I could only keep 10, this is my palette that includes a black shadow, because it's always good to deepen up your outer crease, do a shadow wing. If I want to do a smoky look, I know I've got at least one black shadow in my 10 that I am keeping. And just to compare it to the Juvia's Place, I'm sorry, they both have this really shiny backgrounds, but the Juvia's Place is definitely warmer. Like, it has this copper shade up here that is one of my favorites in the palette that this one down here doesn't have. This is more true gold. This is more copper. So yes, I needed both. And I don't want to hear it. So just to swatch a few from the Good as Gold palette. Definitely beautiful, definitely more flaky, sparkly formulas, and I am okay with that. So the last palette I chose from Colourpop is the Sweet Talk palette, and this is also probably one of my favorites. This is just a very peachy coral pink tone palette. I'm sorry, it also has a very reflective background. I love a peachy coral look. I tend to go more peachy pinks than like bubblegum pinks. So I love this palette. This shimmer down here and this Super Shock. I don't know if you could tell, I put a solid dent in those two as well. I love these two shimmers. Like, love a peachy gold shifty kind of shade. These are beautiful. And that Super Shock shadow in the middle there is like the perfect inner corner highlight. So I knew I needed to keep a peachy pink tone palette, and this is definitely my go-to for that kind of look. So there's that one. So I did pick one that is fairly similar to that one, but it's different enough that I would want to keep both. And this is the Sigma Cor de Rosa palette. I love this thing. This is what I am currently wearing on my eyes. If it looks like crap, don't blame the eyeshadow. I have officially done my makeup 3 times today. I did a little bit of makeup this morning to go to the dentist. I just finished filming a palette bingo with all of these palettes. Every single one of them. It was a great time. So that video will be going up later this week. Keep an eye out for that mess. And then I did my eyeshadow again to film this video, and my eyes are so watery just from having to wash off my eye makeup and redo it. So don't judge the eyeshadow. I promise this palette's amazing. So this palette is more mauvey pink. It does have some very similar shades. I have seen them compared as kind of like dupe palettes, so they are pretty similar. There are definitely some shades that I didn't need to have in both of these, but hear me out. This is more mauvey pink. It has that more rose toned that the other one doesn't have. That one's more peach, this one's more rose, if that makes sense. So I love this palette. If I'm looking for like a real quick throw a matte in the crease and a shimmer on the lid, this is my palette. I will put this one in my, and there's a brush. So I will put one of these lighter mattes in my crease. I really like this more mauvey tone one on the ends. And then one of these shimmers on the lid. And this sparkly shade, I have it in my inner corner and kind of tapped up over my lid a little. Is beautiful. If I want a quick 1-2 shadow look, this is the one I'm reaching for. I knew I needed to pick this one. I actually reach for this one a lot in like my everyday non-YouTube filming life. So this is kind of like a staple for me. I love these shadows. I really do like the Sigma quality. And I'm actually gonna swatch a matte. Look at that. Oh, I just ruined the rose. So these are the 3 swatches for that one. It's similar, but different. Definitely peachier on the Colourpop one and definitely more mauvey rose toned on the Sigma one. So yes, I needed both. So next up, I chose the Lunar Lavender palette from Kaleidos. This palette is so beautiful. I've got like my perfect purple toned look in this palette. It's got some neutrals, but even this like brown still has a bit of a purple undertone. You got your light purple matte, your dark purple matte, your deepening up shade. You have a full look in this palette, an inner corner shade and a lid shade. You want your all-in-one perfect purple look. It's right here. I love purple eyeshadow. I love purple in general, so I knew I needed this. I have very quickly come to love the Kaleidos formula, but their shimmers are just insane. They do these topper shades so beautifully. Look at those shimmers. Gorgeous. So I did contemplate picking a bigger purple palette. Like I thought about the It's My Pleasure from Colourpop, but honestly, if I'm just reaching for one, it's probably gonna be this one. I do tend to prefer neutral mattes and just a colorful shimmer on the lid. So if I had to pick my perfect purple palette, it's this one right here from Kaleidos. And last but not least, this one came into my collection fairly recently. I've only played with it once, but it definitely made an impression on me. So this one is the Cotton Candy palette from BH Cosmetics. And this is another one that I looked at this one and the Kaleidos one, and I'm like, do I really need both? It does have these 2 purple mattes and the 2 purple shimmers that are kind of similar, but they're just different. The Kaleidos palette just hits different. Those shimmers are on another level. I do think this palette offers more variety than the Kaleidos one. I can definitely get a lot more looks out of this than this. So I did want to pick this one as well. Yes, I have a few similar shades, but I don't have these at the end, and they're different. They're different. So I'm actually going to swatch the shades that I would say are dupes in both of these palettes. So you can see they are definitely similar. You do definitely get a similar vibe. So I do think they are different enough. You definitely get more shades in this one, different tones of pink and purple in this one, so I wanted to keep it as well. What can I say? I have a type. So I know I didn't pick too much of a wide variety of colors. I did stick to what I tend to wear the most. Pinks, purples, golds, coppers are my staple eyeshadows. I did want the greens. I did want to make sure I had some blues and some cool tones, a black shadow, but I didn't really pick like a silver shade or too many cool tones. That's just not my preferred eye look. I think I tend to definitely lean towards a warmer look, and I think I would be set with these 10. I'd be all right. So I think this video was so much fun to make, and I would love to hear which 10 palettes you would pick. So if you want to leave them down in the comments below, I'd love to read them. And if you enjoyed this video, I hope that you would consider liking, subscribing, and coming back for some more content. Bye!